Hey everyone, I'm Piet, Levy, the music writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and tapmilwaukee.com. I'm very excited to be here with Katey Sagal, who's performing for the Harley-Davidson 110th anniversary on Saturday night. And she's also, of course, you know her from Sons of Anarchy, from Futurama, Married with Children. Katey, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure.
So we do this thing called 10 for Tap, where we ask folks 10 questions. Are you down for that?
I'm down.
Cool. So, being on Sons of Anarchy, obviously it's a show that any Harley lover has to watch. It's a must-see show.
I would think so.
So what did you learn, I guess, about Harley or about motorcycle life from being on this show?
Well, I knew nothing really about the motorcycle culture, the club culture before I started the show, and since, we're pretty much supported by all kinds of different motorcycle clubs. And I have to say, the stereotypical, whatever I thought it was going to be, it's not at all. And there's just a bunch of amazingly sweet people that I've met.
Let's talk a little bit about your music background, because you're here at Harley performing, and what people may not know is that you used to do backing vocals for like Bette Midler, Bob Dylan. This is crazy stuff. So what did you take away from those experiences? How did it inspire you and influence you?
Well, and I worked with Etta James too, which was incredibly inspiring. I took different things from different people. When Bette Midler was like the hardest working person I've ever seen in my life. And so that taught me a great deal of work ethic being with her. And, Etta was just, a musical master. So that was that experience. And Bob Dylan, I took sort of some funny memories. He ended up firing me. So
okay.
But I always put it on my resume because I was working with Bob Dylan. He fired half the band, so it wasn't just me.
Well, I'm sorry you got fired, but it seems like you've obviously recovered.
I have. Yes, we all need a good fired story.
Right, we all have one. Tell me about your own album and what can we expect from this release coming out in October?
Well, this one, I usually write what I record. I've done 2 other solo records, but this one, I just wasn't really coming up with anything, so I covered songs, and the record is called Covered. Okay. And Bob Thiel, who's also the music supervisor for Sons of Anarchy, he produced the record, and we arranged it together, and I think it's a beautiful record. And I chose material that is, there's current songwriters. I do a Ryan Adams song, I do a Steve Earle song, who I love, I do Ray LaMontagne song. And then I have some older songs that were from when I was growing up. I was a big fan of Laura Nyro and Tom Petty, and so I have a couple of those songs. And I sing with Jackson Browne, sings on the record with me on a Steve Earle song. It's a really good record, I think. Cool. I really enjoyed doing it.
Let's talk about Sons of Anarchy a little bit. It's starting up on September 10th on FX. The trailer is intense. It's like people just kind of fighting each other. Yes. So what can we expect besides a big brawl of some sort?
It's a big brawl. It's a really intense season. I mean, it ended, season 5 ended totally intense, and Clay went to jail, Tara went to jail. So we pick up 3 days after that. Okay. And so those people are still in place where we left them. And you're going to see the journey of what happens with all that. For Gemma, she has pretty much resigned herself to the fact that Clay's in jail, and that she made that decision, which ultimately made her son the president of the club, right, which I think is what she's always wanted. I know that's what she's always wanted. And she has this new boyfriend, Nero. So who's a different kind of guy for her. So she's in a really good place. And but you'll see the season, as always, the season just kind of gets deeper and darker, and I think it will not disappoint.
Cool. Now, what's really interesting too is that you, the creative mastermind of the show, is your husband. Yeah. What's it like working on a show that's this intense, where your character goes to some really crazy, dark places, with your husband kind of leading the way and kind of leading you down these paths, essentially? What's that like for you guys?
Well, we kind of make the separation between husband and wife and 2 artistic people doing what it is they like to do. Yeah. So as an actor, I appreciate all those challenges. I like all the crazy, wacky, dark places that I am asked to go to. And as a writer, he definitely, is exploring, that's the story he wants to tell. So it's really not like we're husband and wife when we're doing that. It's more just, we both enjoy what it is we do creatively. And so I never really think about it like, wow, my husband asked me to do that. I don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think he thinks like, I wonder if my wife will do this. He doesn't even think that way.
Okay. There's been a lot of thoughts that this is season 6 coming up, but that
Right.
season 7 will be it.
Yes.
Any thoughts about that, whether it's true or not true? I mean, you obviously know someone that's connected, and how would you feel, I guess, if it comes to an end at season 7?
I would, what I know of Kurt is that he has a story in mind. And so when the story is told, it would feel false to push farther than that. If he comes up, he has said it himself, that if he comes up to the end of 7 and he feels like he needs a little more time to finish the story, I'm sure that could happen. But my sense is that it will wind up at 7. And, I've been on long-running shows, and so I know there's a grief process to it. There really is. There's they become your family. We are like a little family. And at a certain point, that will shift and we'll move on.
Speaking of shows and coming to an end, Futurama, the series finale, or potential series finale, if it gets picked up again, September 4th. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, obviously, it's had a lot of second chances.
So I don't believe it.
Okay.
As Matt Groening told me at Futurama, at Comic-Con, he said, we'll find a place. Don't worry, it's not going to end. So, because it's ended so many times.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it may take a minute to find another place, but I just hold out hope for it because it has such a huge fan base. It's such a smart show. And why wouldn't somebody want to keep making that show? So that's my thought. I just am in denial that it's over.
Okay.
I don't think it's over.
Speaking of those two characters, Leela and Gemma, which of the two do you relate to more?
Well, Leela says, this is the funny part about Futurama. It's all written by these mega rocket scientist guys. The writers are incredibly smart.
Right.
So a lot of times I don't even know what we're talking about. I'm just sort of going with the flow. So I don't actually relate. I relate to Leela as being kind of, the strong loner in search of, love. And I've had those periods of my life. And then Gemma, I relate to Gemma as a mother. She's incredibly loyal and would do anything for her family. And I tend to be that way too. I don't carry a gun though.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Good to know, right?
Good. So, we've talked about those shows, but of course there's also Married with Children. I'm dying to know, when are we going to see an Ed O'Neill reunion on the Modern Family, or is he going to come and mess some things up with Sam Crow on Sons of Anarchy? Like, what's going to happen here?
He does like our show. He was on, when I was on that show with John Ritter, I don't know if you ever saw that one, 8 Simple Rules. He did come and we did an episode, and he was on that. He played an ex-boyfriend of mine.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if Ed, I'd love to be on Modern Family. So anybody watching.
Yeah, you'd be awesome on that.
That'd be fun. And I don't know, Ed is a killer dramatic actor. He could be like head of the Irish mob on our show.
Yeah.
He would be amazing.
That'd be
But
cool.
I don't know. We haven't really talked about it. And we talk, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I hope it happens. So, you've obviously been on a lot of really great long shows, beloved shows. What, though, is your all-time favorite show, outside of the ones you've been on? Because I know you're going to be biased.
Well, I'm really liking TV right now, so that's tough. My all-time favorite show?
Or even a favorite show right now.
Right now, what I really like right now is Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
I just think it's great. I just caught up, from the last season. I also just watched that Netflix show, Orange is the New Black. I thought that was really great, too.
Katey, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.